Welcome to Beyond Baroque Literary Arts Center. My name is Quentin Ring. I am Beyond Baroque's Executive Director. Welcome to the Wanda Coleman Theater. And I'm really just glad to welcome you all here to the latest edition of Beyond Spanish, Poetry in Basque, Catalan, Galician, and Spanish. This is a program we've been hosting, I think, since 2017, with a little break during the pandemic, and it's always just a real pleasure to be able to produce this program. And so I think we're going to have a good time tonight. We'll get into the program in just a second. Before we get started, though, I did want to say a few words about Beyond Baroque. We like to start our programs here. I think it's important to start our programs here by acknowledging Beyond Baroque's presence on Tongva land. We acknowledge the wrong done to indigenous people through settler colonialism, genocidal practices, and the violent dispossession of their land. And as an arts organization, Beyond Baroque is committed to uplifting indigenous writers and communities. To say a few more words about Beyond Baroque as an organization, we are Los Angeles' oldest literary organization. We were founded in 1968, and we exist to support writers, to nurture new writing, and to build literary community. We especially focus on poetry. So we have poetry readings just about every week here, multiple times a week usually, but we also support fiction writers, nonfiction playwrights. We have programming Thursday, Friday, Saturday in this theater. We also have writing workshops. We have our Monday night fiction workshop and our Wednesday night poetry workshop. Those are hosted online. We have individual master classes, and we do this every week. We do have a few programs coming up that I'd like to tell you a little bit about. Just tomorrow we have a book talk conversation featuring Russ Tamblyn, who's perhaps best known as one of the dancers from the original West Side Story, who's also in Twin Peaks, but he was a very big member of the Venice counterculture. It is a very big member of the Venice counterculture, and this is sort of his memoir. So he's going to be in conversation with Pat Thomas tomorrow. That should be a really fascinating event. And then on Saturday, we have a children's poetry book launch with Spencer Griffin in the afternoon. And in the evening, we have the 50th anniversary reading of Poetry Flash, a really important poetry magazine, online magazine based in the Bay Area. There's going to be a great collection of poets here for that. So please do come back this weekend for some more programs. Take a look at our websites or our social media to see what's coming up later in the month. And I hope to see you all soon. A few words of thanks. I should thank Eric Alberg, who's running things in our booth tonight, as well as Ivan Salinas, our programs manager, Jimmy Vega, our associate director, Genesis Perez in our bookstore. Their staff keep everything going here. I also want to thank our members for supporting this event. If you're not a member of Beyond Baroque and you'd like to become one, it costs as little as $60 for an individual membership, $80 for a dual membership. The arts are very well funded, I think, in Europe, in Spain, across Europe. Here in the United States, they are not well funded. I think, in fact, we all know. So spaces like this really do depend on the support of our community. So please, your membership goes to support that. It helps keep events like this free. It gets you a discount when we have to charge. It gets you a discount in our bookstore. And if you become a member, you'll get a free Beyond Baroque tote bag that you can take home with you tonight. So if you'd like to become a member, see Genesis in the bookstore. You can also sign up online. But it is a huge help. I also really want to thank all of the readers that we have reading in multiple languages. Beyond Baroque is very much committed to language in all of its forms. And this event is particularly special to us because we love hearing different languages. We love hearing the poetry of different languages, their rhythms, their cadences, and thinking about translation as well. So, to all the readers, thank you for being here. And especially a huge thanks to the Education Office of the Consulate General of Spain. We've been working with the consulate for many years. Their support of this event is really wonderful, and it's just an honor and a pleasure to be associated with the consulate. And so, thank you for making this happen. Finally, I'd like to thank and also welcome our next speaker, Mariano Zaro. He's a member of Beyond Baroque's Board of Trustees. He's a fabulous poet himself, and he is our host for the evening and the organizer, along with the consulate, of this event. So please, everybody, welcome Mariano Zaro, and thank you so much for coming.
Thank you, Quentin. Thank you very much. And thank you, Beyond Baroque. Thank everybody for being here today. Welcome to Beyond Spanish, the 2024 edition. As you know, the objective of this program is to showcase poetry in Galician, Catalan, Spanish, and Basque, and this is a collaboration with the Office of Education of the Spanish Consulate. I would like to present the sequence of the program, so I'm going to talk about the readers today and also the sequence of the languages. They are all very important people, so I'm going to just do like a couple of lines for all of them. Don't feel offended if I don't mention all your accomplishments. We're going to start with poems in Galician and in English. Elena Barcia will read the English version of the poems, and Inés García Sal will read the poems in the original version in Galician. Elena Barcia is a film and literary translator. She has translated hundreds of movies, and she also translated Niebla, the novel by Miguel de Unamuno, Fog, and very recently she published this book, Exquisite Corpse. Is a collection of poems by Malu Urriola, a poem from Chile. The book is available at the bookstore, and she will be happy to sign a copy for you. And then the Galician version of the poems will be read by Inés García Sal. She is an education advisor at the Office of Education of the Spanish Consulate, and has been very instrumental organizing this event. After the poems in Galician, we will have the poems in Catalan. Elena Barcia will also read the English version of the poems. Jennifer Holmes, who used to read the English version of the poems, called me around 5 p.m. She is unable to attend, so Elena is taking care of that, so thank you, Elena, for this last minute. Yes, thank you. So Elena will read the English version, and Mercedes Fages, is that the way you pronounce your last name? Fages will read the original version in Catalan. Mercedes Fages is a master lecturer at USC, and recently she has received the award for Community Engaged Teaching and Research, and also the Faculty Council Service Award. So she will read the poems in Catalan. After that will be the Spanish and English versions. I will be reading from my book, Padre Tierra. The book was published in Spanish. And then one of the big presents of life, the book was translated into English by Blas Falconer. He did a brilliant English translation. Blas is a professor of English at San Diego State University, a very accomplished poet. He has published A Question of Gravity and Light, The Funneling Wheel, and most recently, this book has a beautiful cover, Forgive the Body This Failure. And I believe you have a book forthcoming later this year, Rara Avis. I think the book is already available for pre-order. So, but these books are in the bookstore, and he will also be happy to sign copies for you. And then we will be reading sections of Padre Tierra that were published in the magazine Poetry International. And finally, we have poems in Basque and in English. Again, Elena will read the English version, and Lourdes Orueta Mendia and Josu Baque will read the Basque version. Josu is an education advisor for the Office of Education of the Spanish Consulate, and Josu has been part of the Beyond Spanish since day one. I think we talked about it early in 2017, and the first event, the first show was in May 2017. And Lourdes Orueta Mendia is the attaché of education at the consulate, and she's a great supporter of poetry and poets. And thank you, the consulate, for providing the refreshments. And I think that's all. We are gonna start with the poems. Thank everybody for being here. Adelante, and probably they will talk a little bit about the poems they will read. I didn't want to to intrude with that information. So Elena and Ines, thank you, everybody.
Oh, thank you. It's lovely to be here again after a year, and also to be here with my friend and fellow Galician Elena. The first poem we're going to read is by a poet called María do Cebreiro. Cebreiro is a mountain pass that, if you've done the Camino de Santiago, is the last mountain pass before you hit Galicia. And she writes these beautiful lyrical poems about the landscape, the feelings of people, and this one is called Eyes.
Ice by María do Cebreiro. I sat down to describe what I knew about mourning. Animals furiously dig up the earth when they lose their young. It's not hard to imagine the fury of female dogs, how hard they work to forge hatred between their front paws and the ground. It's not hard to imagine our grandmothers mourning, the black scarves covering their heads in memory of God knows whom. The way they continue to weep internally decades after shedding their first tears. I sat down to write what I knew about mourning. There's really not much to say. Mourning is one of those things that can only be felt. Like pain, which is not the same as mourning, it is incomprehensible to all forms of human intelligence, no matter how acute or sensitive we are. In a sense, mourning is like ice. Ice is so beautiful it can kill us. Did you see the way it awoke on the fields this morning? It covered us like a white cloth, assuming the treacherous shape of innocence. The most sensible response is to stay still. There's not much else we can do. The act of mourning resembles silence. As the Methodist minister in an old movie proclaimed to a dying parishioner, all we can do now is pray. Mourning lives beneath the ice, working to turn our bodies into the soil from which, with a bit of luck, we will be born again one day. Just as many centuries ago, someone wrote on a blank page, "No one knows what our bodies are capable of." An undeniable truth.
O xeo, by María do Cebreiro. Sentei para contar o que sabía do loito. Os animais furan con rabia á terra cando perden un fillo. Non é nada difícil imaxinar a rabia das cadelas, o xeito laborioso no que construen unha relación de odio entre as súas gadoupas dianteiras e o chan. Non é nada difícil imaxinar o traballo de loito das aboas. O pano negro que tapa a súa cabeza, quen sabe por que mortes, o seu xeito de continuar chorando por dentro varias décadas logo de chorar. Sentei para escribir o que sabía do loito. Realmente non hai moito que se poida contar. O loito é unha experiencia que só pode sentirse. Igual que a dor. O loito non é a dor. É incomprensible para calquera forma de intelixencia humana, por aguda ou sensible que sexa. Nalgún sentido, ten que ver co xeo. O xeo é tan fermoso que nos pode matar. Viches como espertou esta mañá nos prados? Cubriunos como se fose un pano branco, adoptando a forma perigorosa da inocencia. Ante isto, o máis sensato é non moverse. Realmente non hai moito que podamos facer. O traballo do loito parécese ao silencio. Parécese ao reverendo metodista que nun filme de época afirma sobre o estado terminal de algún doente: só é posible rezar. Debaixo do xeo vive o loito, que traballa para facer do noso corpo a terra desde a que, con algo de sorte, un día volveremos nacer. Nese mesmo sentido, hai moitos séculos, alguén puido escribir nunha páxina en branco: ninguén sabe o que pode un corpo, e acertar. I didn't say before that this poet, María do Cebreiro, is a professor at the University of Santiago de Compostela, and she has won several awards from the Galician government. And the next one is also a female poet, Yolanda Castaño, and Yolanda Castaño is quite well known. This year she has won the Poetry National Award for Spain, and she's quite a different type of poet. And in this poem that we're going to read, she plays with the idea of learning a language and mispronouncing words, which probably most of us can relate to. So it's called Listen and Repeat, un paxaro, unha barba.
A bird, a beard. The sky above is squatting, an intransitive thirst. To speak in a foreign tongue is like dressing in borrowed clothing. Helga confuses the meaning of land and landscape. What kind of person would you be in another language? You point out to me that sometimes this vocal string instrument of mine sings out of tune. In the light well of language, prosody hooks onto my dress. I will tell you something about the problems with my tongue. There are things that I cannot pronounce. Like when I observe you seated and I only see a chair. Ceci n'est pas une chaise. A camera obscura projecting onto gray matter. To pronounce, if the poem is an exorcism, a change in phrasing. Some humor solidifies to abandon us. That's how phonation is, enthalpy. But you are absolutely right. My vocalization leaves much to be desired. If I stop looking at your teeth, I won't understand a word you say. The sky shrinks, Helga smiles in italics, and I learn to differentiate between a beard and a bird, beyond the fact that one takes flight if I try to trap it with my hands.
Listen and Repeat, un paxaro, unha barba, de Yolanda Castaño. Todo o ceo está en créquenas, unha sede intransitiva. Falar nunha lingua allea parécese a poñer roupa prestada. Helga confunde os significados de país e paisaxe. Que clase de persoa serías noutro idioma? Ti fasme notar que, ás veces, este meu instrumento de corda vocal desafina. No patio de luces da linguaxe, engánchame a prosodia no vestido. Contareiche algo sobre os meus problemas ca lingua. Hai cousas que non podo pronunciar. Como cando te vexo sentado e só vexo unha cadeira. Ceci n'est pas une chaise. Unha cámara oscura proxecta no hemisferio. Pronunciar. Se o poema é un exorcismo, un cambio de agregación, algún humor solidifica para abandonarnos. Así é a fonación, a entalpía. Pero tes toda a razón, o meu vocalismo deixa moito que desexar. Se deixo de mirar os teus dentes, non vou entender nada do que fales. O ceo faise pequeno, Helga sorríe en cursiva, e eu aprendo a diferenciar entre unha barba e un paxaro, máis alá de que levante o voo se trato de collela entre as mans. And the last poem is a short poem I think last year I read one of the 6 poems that Lorca, probably the most well-known poet that we have in Spain, wrote in Gallego. He wrote 6 poems, and he fell in love with Galicia, with the music and the poetry and the language, and with the friends he made, and brought his theatre troupe, La Barraca, all the way to Santiago, and they performed there in a Plaza da Quintana. So he really loved Santiago. If you've been to Santiago, you will see that it's a special town, and the stone and the rain make it very, very special. So this poem he wrote with the help of his friend Ernesto Pérez Guerra, who is a Galician philologist, and it's called Madrigal a Ciudad de Santiago.
It rains in Santiago. It rains in Santiago, my sweet love, white camellia in the air, shining shaded in the sun. It rains in Santiago in the dark night. Silvery dreamlike reeds cover the barren moon. See how it rains in your streets, bemoaning both stone and glass. See the dying wind, your oceans furrow and ash. Your oceans furrow and ash, Santiago, so far from the sun. Water trembles in my heart, water of an ancient dawn.
Madrigal a Ciudad de Santiago. Chove en Santiago, meu doce amor. Camelia branca do ar, brila entebrecida ao sol. Chove en Santiago, na noite oscura. Ervas de prata e de sono cobren a baleira lúa. Olla a choiva pola rúa, laio de pedra e cristal. Olla o vento esvaído, soma e cinza do teu mar. Soma e cinza do teu mar, Santiago, lonxe do sol. Agua da mañán anterga, trema no meu corazón.
So, hi everyone, good night. I feel like Ines has done such a wonderful job that I feel like sitting down again and leave it there. When I was asked to choose 3 poems or several poems, I ended up choosing 3 poems that you'll see were written around the same time by 3 Catalan poets. Well, actually, no, 2 Catalans and then a poet from Valencia. And they were all written around the same period, Spanish Civil War. So you will see how the 3 poems were influenced by that specific period of the history. So the first poem we're going to read is by Salvador Espriu, which I think is one of the most important poets of the Catalan contemporary period.
By the sea. I had a house by the sea, my dream, beside the sea, a high prow. The boundless roads of the water, the narrow skiff I commanded. My eyes once knew all the tranquility and order of a small country. How badly I needed to tell you about the terrifying rain against the windows. Today, nocturnal darkness falls upon my house. Black rocks lure me to destruction. Held captive by a song, all my efforts are in vain. Who can guide me toward the dawn? I had a house by the sea, a dream that would not end.
A la vora de la mar, de Salvador Espriu. A la vora de la mar. Tenia una casa, el meu somni, a la vora de la mar. Alta proa, per lliures camins d'aigua, l'esvelta barca que jo manava. Els ulls sabien tot el repòs i l'ordre d'una petita pàtria. Com necessito contar-te la basarda que fa la pluja als vidres. Avui cau nit de fosca. damunt la meva casa. Les roques negres m'atrauen a un naufragi. Cautiu del càntic, el meu esforç inútil. Qui pot guiar-me a l'alba? Ran de la meva mar tenia una casa, un llençomni. The second poem is by a poet that's not that well known as Espriu, but has, in my opinion, some of the most felt and most beautiful poems of that period. His name is Marià Manet, is from Barcelona, and the poem that we're going to read is, here we go, in English first.
To my daughter Maria, when she was 1 year old during war. The branches of the fir tree approach the eaves, and far off, what thunderous sound makes the window shiver? The mountains are sad at the heart of the cold, and sad is the smell of watery stew. Like the root, like the fruit in the mist of the orchard, upon the unblemished breast you nurse, asleep. And this lukewarm silence of life resembles the silence of the grave.
A la meva filla Maria, quan tenia 1 any, en temps de guerra. Se'ns acosten al ràfec les branques de l'avet i lluny, quin sopregó fa estremir la fenestra. És trista la muntanya al cor del fred i és trista aquesta olor de la pobra minestra. Com l'arrel, com el fruit en la boira de l'hort, damunt la cina clara vas nodrint-te, adormida, i s'assembla al silenci de la mort, aquest heavy silenci de la vida. And the last piece is really the lyrics of the song. I'm convinced that some of the most beautiful poems that we have had been created by the cantautores, the songwriters of our country. And this one is borrowed from Valencia, it's not from Catalunya, and is from Raimon. And the name of the poem is El Vent.
To the wind, facing the wind, heart to the wind, hands to the wind, eyes to the wind of the world, and all full of night, looking for light, looking for peace, looking for God, the wind of the world. Life gives us sorrows. Being born is already a deep pain. Life can be difficult, but we're still in the wind, facing the wind, heart to the wind, hands to the wind, eyes to the wind of the world. And all full of night, looking for light, looking for peace, looking for the wind of the world.
El vent, by Ramon. El vent, la cara al vent, el cor al vent, les mans al vent, els ulls al vent del món. I tots plens de nin, buscant la llum, buscant la pau, buscant a Déu, el vent del món. La vida ens dona penes i el néixer és un gran plor. La vida pot ser eixa plor, però nosaltres, el vent, la cara al vent, el cor al vent, les mans al vent, els ulls al vent del món. I tots plens de nit, buscant la llum, buscant la pau, buscant a Déu, el vent del món.
So as I mentioned earlier, I'm going to be reading with Blas some sections from the poem Padre Tierra, and I will read the Spanish version, and Blas will read his translation in English.
I'd like to begin with a little bit of the translator's note. I think this relationship was really interesting. It came about in such an organic way, and the translator's note gives a little bit of that history. So I'd like to begin with that. And this was published in the literary journal with the poems. It's called The Spirit of Padre Tierra. Back in April of 2020, I came across a recording of Mariano Zaro reading from Padre Tierra, a book-length poem inspired by the author's own relationship with his father, a farmer, and the rugged landscape of his home in northern Spain. In a quiet, intimate voice, reminiscent of Luis Cernuda's poetry, his ambitious work considers the father's life and legacy as a means of understanding the son's own identity, his fears, his revelations, and his transformation from childhood to adulthood. Struck by its lyricism and drawn to the subject matter, I ordered Padre Tierra. When it arrived from Spain, a couple of weeks later, I dove in, sharing excerpts with my Puerto Rican mother, who had come to visit me in Los Angeles that spring for a week and, because of quarantine, ended up staying for 8 months. Over lunch, she and I would read a passage and discuss compelling images, recurring themes, debating the meaning of a phrase, and how we might translate it into English. This book seemed like a gift, ideal because of its subject matter and because of its style, which spoke to my own aesthetic impulses. At the time, I was working on a collection of poems about fatherhood, but I had hit an impasse. Translating seemed like another outlet for expression. So thank you, Mariano, for these poems. And thank you to everybody who made this happen. This is just unbelievable. I feel like it's such a gift listening to these, to everybody else. So, thank you to the Consulate and to Beyond Baroque and Mariano, of course. So I'll read one section. They're just numbered. This one is section 9. You come into my room, Padre Tierra. I have a fever. I did not go to school. The light hurts more than my eyes. You come in like a bull, careful and restrained. You bring the cold of mountains woven into your clothes. You bring lavender, the olive trees silver, the vines climbing, caustic, curled, stubborn with fire and must. You come close, kiss my forehead. You are thermometer and balm. Bless 1,000 times this fever, sleepwalking.
Sección 9. Entras en mi cuarto de niño, Padre Tierra. Tengo fiebre, no he ido a la escuela. Me duele la luz más allá de los ojos. Entras como toro prudente y contenido, traes el frío de los montes trenzado en la ropa. Traes el espliego, la plata del olivo, la vid, el viaje de los pámpanos, ácidos, curvos, tercos, de lumbre y mosto. Te acercas, me besas la frente, eres termómetro y bálsamo. 1000 veces bendigo esta fiebre sonámbula.
Pilgrims, penitents in procession. The snails come out after the rain, and it seems as if they come to meet you, Padre Tierra. At your side, I look at them. Sometimes you put one in the palm of my hand, and it shines like a paten. Snails are male and female, both, you say. I look at the spiral shell, hypnotized.
Peregrinos, penitentes, procesionarios, los caracoles salen tras la lluvia, parece que salen a tu encuentro, Padre Tierra. Yo los miro pegado a tus rodillas, a veces Pones uno en la palma de mi mano que brilla como una patena. Los caracoles son macho y hembra a la vez, me dices. Yo miro la espiral del caparazón, hipnotizado.
"43. The livestock sleep without fear. Don't forget to give them something to eat. Change the water. That's what you tell me, Padre Tierra. Horses know what happens within us. Swallows know too. And ivy on the garden wall. Even if we don't understand. Near the barn there is a trunk full and empty. You give me the key. I take it like a tattoo."
"43. Los animales de la casa duermen sin miedo. No olvides darles de comer, cambiar el agua. Eso me dices, Padre Tierra. Los caballos saben lo que nos pasa por dentro. También lo saben las golondrinas y la hiedra de las tapias, aunque nosotros no entendamos. Cerca del granero hay un baúl, lleno y vacío. Me das la llave, la recibo como un tatuaje".
The last one is section 49. You tell me things about your childhood, Padre Tierra. Snow on the roofs, frozen, hanging over the eaves, turning the streets into tunnels. A priest does not give you communion because you drink water from a fountain and should have been fasting. But he's a child. He was thirsty. The neighbors defend you. You are a child. You talk about sweetbread, about honey on figs. We follow you until night falls, and your mother calls you from the window, and we wait, watching the clouds elongate. We walk together. The clock strikes the hour. The children say goodbye. The town is left empty.
Y este es el último segmento, 49. Me cuentas cosas de tu infancia, Padre Tierra. La nieve en los tejados congelada, sobrepasando los aleros, convirtiendo en túneles las calles. Un cura no te da la comunión porque bebiste agua de una fuente y tenías que estar en ayunas. Pero es un niño, tenía sed, te defienden las vecinas. Eres un niño, hablas del pan de azúcar, de la miel sobre los higos. Te seguimos hasta que se hace de noche y tu madre te llama desde la ventana. Y nos quedamos mirando las nubes alargadas. Caminamos juntos, el reloj da la hora, los niños dicen adiós, el pueblo se queda vacío.
Well, and now we are going to read Basque poetry. Yeah, we are going to read in Basque. Well, the first poet we are going to read is Gabriel Aresti. Gabriel Aresti is one of the most important 20th century writers in Basque. He grew up in Bilbao, and his first language, his mother tongue, was not Basque, but Spanish. Yeah, so he learned the language. But he did so well that by the age of 21, he collaborated with many magazines in Basque. Like many writers, he was also a translator, an excellent translator, and he translated many plays from very important writers like García Lorca,
T.S. Eliot, and even Boccaccio. He was quite critical and controversial, and he had many problems with the Franquist regime because of his ideas, but he also had problems with the mainstreaming nationalist movement because of his ideas. They thought his ideas were very leftist. And then the Socialist Party thought his ideas were not too lefty, he was more nationalist. So he was there in the middle. Well, he also founded a publishing house called Lur, which is very famous nowadays in the Basque Country. And at that time, last century, he helped many writers that nowadays are very famous, but in that time they were starting, writing. So let's hear, we are going to hear Gabriel Aresti.
Me and what I say. I am nothing. I am nothing but what I am. I am who I am, yes. I am not who I am not. I am mine by my will, by the will of who I am, and by my virtue, by the strength of my thoughts and feelings. I am on my way. What a harsh law, such an unscrupulous order towards an end. I'm going there. I'm not scared. I'm not scared, no. I'm not scared, no. I'm not scared, no. Everything is going towards not being. And one day it will be nothing but what is not. No, yes, I am what I am. I am nothing more than what I am, not what I am not. And this is yes and no, now and always and before, what I say, what I am and what I'm not, what I do not say by the grace and virtue of my thoughts. Yes, what I am, what I say.
Ni eta nik diodana. Ezer ez naiz ezer, ez bada naizena. Ni naiz naizena, bai naizena. Ez naizena. Ni naz nirez, nire borontatez, naizenaren borontatez eta virtutez, nire pentsamenduen eta sentimenduen indarrez. Bidean nago, bai lege gogorra, hain ordenamendu eskapu gabekoa, bukaera batera. Ara noa eta ez naiz bildurtzen ez. Ez naiz bildurtzen ez. Ez naiz bildurtzen ez. Ez naiz bildurtzen ez. Dena doa estenaren bidean eta egun batean ezer estena izanen. Ez bada ezer estena ez. Bai, ni naiz naizena. Ez naiz ezer ez bada naizena. Ez izaren ez naizena. Eta hau da, bai eta ez, orain eta beti eta lehen nik diodana. Ez naizena eta isiltzen dudana, nire pentsamenduen gratiaz eta virtutez, bai, naizena, diodana.
Arratsaldeon, that's good afternoon in Basque. I'm going to read a poem by a poet called Xavier Lete. He's one of the most popular poets nowadays. He started writing poems in 1968 under the Franco's regime. And so at the beginning he was considered to be like a political activist in the 60s, 70s. And he was more concerned about using poetry as a tool to fight against Franco regime. But later, in the 80s, the poem I'm going to read is in the 80s, he changed his style and he was more obsessed with other topics, such as, for instance, death. There is something incredible in this poem. I used to read, I mean, these poems were also really popular as songs in the Basque country. He's a singer, actually. So when I was a teenager, this song was really, really well known. And I understood completely different from where I understand right now. So let's see how you understand the poem, okay? In the past, for me, it was something like as death was something negative, something that scared me, something I was afraid of. But after reading it now, a little bit older, I see things different. So let's see how you feel it, okay? Yeah.
I am not afraid of the coming winter, waiting for winter. I am not afraid of the coming winter, in the height of the summer sun, because I know that the now is in the then, the stillness of nature aligned with what is human until everything becomes present in the depth of being. I am not afraid of dawn and its icy white breath, how it generates the profusion of nature's corpse, because the heart holds the light of all beautiful suns in the past, and the senses relive 1,000 sleeping memories. I am not afraid of the last breath at the end, even if the path threatens an abyss in all directions. Young wine shall flow from the old vines. Our present will make sense to future generations. I'm not afraid of nightfall in the garden and picking the last few flowers, of seeking reasons for every border, because the immersion of the senses in the bloom of evening light is eternal death, and so the comfort of sleep.
Ez nau izutzen negu hurbilak, udabeteko beroan dakidalako irauten duela. Orainak ere geroan, izadiaren joan geldian gizalditako lerroan. Guztia present bihurtu arte, nor izanaren erroan. Ez nau beldurtzen egun sentian, arnaz zuridun izotzak, nun dirudien bizirik gabe, natura zabal ilotzak. Eguzki eder joan guzien argia baitu bihotzak, eta zentzuen mila ernegai iraganaren oroitzak. Ez nau larritzen, azken orduan, arnaza galdu beharrak, bide xumea ezituaren amildegiaren larrak, ardo berriak onduko ditu, maastietan haien zaharrak. Gure oraina, arrazoiturik gabe, beste batzuren biharrak. Ez nau iluntzen, baratzatikan azken loreak biltzeak, mugaguzien arrazoi bila, arnaz gabe ibiltzeak, arratsaldeko argibetera zentzudenak umiltzeak, atzedenezko loa baitakar, behin betirako hiltzeak.
Well, and now we are going to change themes, writers, everything. We are going to read something from Beatriz Chivite, who, well, she is a contemporary writer. She is like 30 years old, something like that. She was born in Pamplona. She studied Chinese philology and art in London. And she lived in China for some years, but now she's living in London. So, well, she's a young writer. She has, I mean, several awards, yeah? And she writes about current issues, yeah, something, well, that the following poem is a good example of what she writes about.
You also told me. You also told me that the two of us could do whatever we wanted, that we could go wherever we wanted, dinner in Hong Kong and breakfast in Paris. And there you are, in a basement in Seoul, trapped, eating noodles out of a cardboard box. And here I am in the suburbs of London, licking your flat face if it appears on my mobile screen.
Zuk ere, esan zenidan gu biok nahi genuen guztia egin genezakeela.
Nahi genuen tokietara joan gintezkela, Hong Kongen afaldu edo saldu Parisen.
Etara hor zu, Seuleko soto batean, harrapatuta kartoikutxa batetik fideoak jaten.
Eta hona hemen, ni Londreseko kanpoaldean nire mugikorraren paintailan agertzen den zure aurpegia laua maiazkatzen.
Thank you very much for coming. We hope you had a very good time. Now, if you want to join us, we are having some refreshment outside. Yeah. Thank you very much.